Greetings, Glitter Gang, and welcome back to Kathryn Scraps Live. This is the second portion of the evening show from Thursday, April 27th. We just finished the pocket envelope assembly, and now we're going to work on the next piece, which is the page base and the pocket that goes on the page base. And the reason that we did the whole thing first for this is because before we could put this pocket, well, we're going to talk about this. There's two ways we can do this pocket. Okay. So way number one is we can put it on like so, and then attach this to the front of it, which is probably the easiest way to do it. Then it's going to look like this. It is 2.5, 2.5. You know, they step down by the same amount. Okay. And then we're going to be able to put a large tag back there. So that'll be cool. Let's just do that. We'll do it that way. I'm not going to give a bunch of options. That's totally acceptable. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is set our spine pieces. Let's just put our spine together real quick. Let us do that. And I taped both sides of my spine pieces, which was not necessary, but what's done is done, you know. But you only need to tape one side. And you would think that I've made this binding enough times that I would know that. But do I? No. Clearly not. All right, so the way this binding works is you just attach, you have this little gutter and two flaps. You attach the flaps to each other. Very super simple. I like to attach them in pairs because I find that if I attach them one after another, I'm more likely to start getting them kind of out of whack with each other. Whereas if I attach them in pairs and then I attach those pairs in pairs, then I find that I stay straighter. I don't know why that is. I couldn't tell you, but what can you do? All right, so now, I'm just going to remove one from each side. Boop. That is the noise it makes when you remove the tape. Boop. 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 Also the noise that it makes when you touch a cat on its nose. So, remarkably similar sounds. All right, and then once you have two, you can stick them together and they make four, and we only need four, so we're done. All right, so now what we're going to do is that we're just going to attach this here, okay? And then we're going to attach this here. Da-da. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a strip of tape at the top of each of these 1, 2, 3 middle fins. Now, in this particular album, when our pages are thick like this, one thing that's good or helpful is to give a little bit of extra breathing room between the score line and the edge of your page. So I always say, you know, you want to see a line of cardstock in between the score line and the edge of your page. Just, and I always say very thin, like a hair. In this case, you don't have to do it so thin, you know. You could be a little farther away. And that just makes the pages not bump into the spine when they're thick. And probably the ideal distance away is the thickness of the page. So if the page is 1/8 of an inch, then you can do 1/8 of an inch. And that'll keep you from being unable to turn your pages. And just when you have lots of layers of pockets like this, it can get a little stiff. It's not a big deal. But you know, if you want to take it to artisanal, right? If you want to take it to artisanal, then that's where you go. All right, so I'm doing about 1/8 of an inch. Oop. Okay. Last one. And I was going to put an extra flap on the pocket, but I decided not to because I like the way it looks with the 2.5 inches, 2.5 inches, 2.5 inches. So I'm not going to mess that up with a flap. All right, so these are the pages. So this is the page 1, page 2, page 3. This is how it attaches to the front and back cover. Easy peasy, or measy peasy, measy peasy. Measy peasy. Okay, now we're going to tape all the flaps of our pockets, and then we're going to go on to the next bit. So, yep, we have slowly been figuring out ways to utilize every little corner of the house. For instance, we had all these folding tables from back when we used to do craft shows. And, you know, folding tables, they cost money and they can be useful for like holidays, for buffets and stuff. So I wanted to keep them, but when you don't have a garage, stuff like that is like, and you don't really have closets because the house was built in the 70s, then, you know, that's tough, right? So, oh my gosh. So, sorry, Gretchen said that last weekend she started working on the 2022 Christmas in July album, which we did so you would have your album ready for your December 2022 pictures. That's when we do our Christmas album in the summer. And then I don't do Christmas projects in the winter. But so yeah, we are going to have to think about what we're going to do for Christmas 2023. But anyway, so in the attic, we have no subfloor. So, well, there's some subfloor, but there's not subfloor all the way. And so we were talking, oh, do we put in subfloor? Do we have enough stuff to store in the attic that it's worth putting in subfloor? Yeah. And then I said, what if we use the tables? And so we laid the tables, you know, with their legs still under them, locked up under them, across the joists. And then we would put stuff on them. Christmas decorations, actually, holiday decorations, that kind of stuff. Because we figure you only need them, you know, once a year. So we were trying to think of, like, put stuff in the attic you're only going to need, like, once a year, right? And so that's what we did. So up there are those tables just kind of arranged in a U around the entrance to the attic. A subfloor, because there's a little kind of subfloor landing pad at the top of the ladder, and then there's not subfloor. So we put a little U around them, and then we covered those in Christmas decorations and holiday decorations, that kind of stuff. The Christmas tree, unfortunately, we can't get up there because it's too long to get up the, we don't have the physics, okay? We don't have the physics. So if there's a way to get it up the stairs and turned to go across the joists, because it's in a box and it could just go across joists on its own, it has not been figured out. So we're still trying to figure out what to do with the Christmas tree. I suggested to my sister that we put it up in the office and we just decorate it seasonally, but she didn't want to do that. So now it's just in a box. So I don't know. It's probably going to have to go in the shed if I ever buy a shed, which we'll see. I did research putting in a shed and a shed foundation and a patio. And I did so much research on it that Google decided that that was my new personality. And it started sending me a bunch of articles about building patios and stuff. And one of the things that it sent me that I really deeply appreciated was it sent me this article from like some patio trade magazine. Okay, so this article was clearly intended for people who like for a living build patios, not people who are thinking about trying to DIY a patio in their backyard. And it was about plastic patio pavers or something. Anyway, so what it alleged was that these replace gravel. So when you build a patio or you build a shed foundation, you need 6.5 inches of gravel and then your inch of sand. So basically you have to dig deep enough. So you have to dig a 7-inch hole in your yard, the size of your patio. And then you get the earth compressor doohickey. You rent that thing from Home Depot. And they say you have to compress the earth 3 times. So you rent the earth compressor thingy from Home Depot. So once you dig your hole and you level it out, then you rent the little earth smusher from Home Depot. Bonus points for if you go into the Home Depot and ask to rent an earth smusher. So you do that. Then once everything's all level and good and graded away from the house and etc., then you put down 6.5 inches of gravel. No, then you put down the anti-weed fabric thing. So you put down the stuff that weeds allegedly can't grow through, although we all know that weeds can grow in a crack in the sidewalk. So nothing can stop them, but it probably just slows them down, you know. So you put down the anti-weed fabric, then you put down your 6.5 inches of gravel, and then you use the compactor. Thank you. Then you use the compactor on the gravel to flatten it out or whatever, and then you put an inch of sand on top of the gravel, and then you level that out and stomp that down, and then you put your pavers on top. And then that's your patio, okay? And I learned from this article that for the average patio, you have to remove 2.5 tons of earth if you use this method, which I was like, what? So then we found out, anyway, the article was about these plastic pavers. And so what they are, allegedly, is they replace the gravel. And they look like subfloor. They're just pieces of plastic with holes drilled in them. And they attach to each other tongue and groove. And they, like I said, they replace the gravel layer. They're considered to be more environmentally friendly than gravel for 2 reasons. One is they're exclusively made from recycled plastic. So they keep plastic out of the landfill or whatever. But also they said that because of the holes drilled in them or whatever, that they drain better, so they keep the water in the earth more, so it doesn't just run off and down into the storm drain. So they are better for the environment for that reason as well, because the water will go into the ground where it's supposed to go. And then the other thing is apparently gravel can be very environmentally unfriendly. It just depends on what kind of gravel you get or whatever. And then supposedly these things last longer than gravel because of how they distribute the force of your footsteps, they said. Your pavers are less likely to crack, which means your patio will last longer, which means that, you know, you're not replacing that stone, and therefore the life of the patio is extended, which makes it better than gravel in that way as well. And so they said also you can recycle them when you're done by sending them to companies that make these things, or the companies will pick them up. And so you can just use these, and they replace 2.5 tons of gravel, or the amount of gravel that you need to fill in the 2.5 tons of earth that you removed. So they said then the process becomes, you buy a sod cutter, you roll up your sod, you dig down like 2 inches, you get rid of that earth, you compact it, you put down your fabric, you put down these plastic things, they snap into each other, and then you put the sand on top of the plastic things, and then you put your pavers on top. And then you're done. And we were like, well, that sounds too good to be true. So at the time that we found out about it, I was talking to my sister about it, and the day that we were talking about it, for some reason we had to use Chat GPT a lot. I was helping her with some project for her work, because it was kind of like an emergency situation, and she wasn't going to be able to take her leave if she didn't get out on time, and her work was having some kind of like crazy emergency. So I agreed to help her, just like secretly, you know. So I secretly helped her with whatever the problem was. I don't even remember, but I had to ask Chat GPT a lot of the questions, you know, to help. So while I was there, so my sister said, that sounds fake and made up. So I said, well, let's ask Chat GPT. So I asked Chat GPT if I should use the plastic patio pavers or the gravel. And they said in most situations, the plastic patio pavers are better. And they said, and this is where Chat GPT really sold me. They said, especially if for some reason the driveway is inaccessible or gravel delivery would be difficult. And my sister and I just stared at each other, and we were like, well, gravel delivery would be impossible. So that's when we decided we're definitely going with the plastic pavers. Well, I think what we're going to do is I'm going to contact our handyman and see if he has an assistant who can work with him on bigger jobs. So I'm going to ask him if he and his assistant want to help us. So, you know, that we're like, so that, you know, we can all kind of work in shifts and maybe not die. So that was, so that's what we decided. And for those of you who don't know about our driveway is like the driveway from hell. Because we literally live straight up at the top of a hill. And our driveway is so steep, we couldn't even get the moving trucks in and out of our driveway, right? So, yeah. So, only one moving truck got into our driveway. And then we had to call a tow company to get it out of our driveway. And then the other 2 moving trucks couldn't get into our driveway. So, which is probably for the best, because if they couldn't get in, they were probably never getting out. So, yeah. So my sister and I were like, yeah, how would we even get gravel in our backyard with our driveway? So we were like, even if these plastic things are crap, that's what we're going with. So yeah, because our driveway is pretty inaccessible. Gravel delivery would be very difficult. So, same with cement. Although I know now with cement, they can set up those like poles and stuff. They have those delivery poles, right, for cement, where they can pump cement through. I think they have poles or pipes. I think they have pipes they can set up so they can pump cement into strange places, or maybe hoses or something. So maybe cement, but I just think pavers would be prettier than cement. Well, and Damien said, because he did hardscaping, and as part of his landscaping business, he also did hardscaping. And he said they make like 20 by 20 or 24 by 24 pavers, and the jobs go really fast. You know, if you get the big pavers like that. Once you get to that part. Hoses make sense, Ella. The concrete hoses. I thought you could spray concrete wherever you wanted it. And concrete is what the people who last put a patio in this house, concrete is what they used. This is on crooked. I have to, oh no, this is the environmentally friendly undo. Oh well. California undo. Darn it. Oh, just come apart. Ugh. So Jill says we did sandstone slabs and it was a ton of work and we destroyed a wheelbarrow taking everything around the house. Well, that's my only concern with the pavers is is getting the pavers up, you know, up to the backyard is going to be a challenge anyway, you know. So they did suggest renting a backhoe to remove the earth, but I don't know. Now their concrete pad that's whatever's left of their patio, the concrete pad is level enough that I think we could put a floating deck on it, and then that floating deck could lead down to the pavers. And at least the floating deck would be not too bad to do. Well, I also heard with concrete that if you ever get a concrete delivery, you should always have brick forms, because you pay for the concrete whether you use it or not. And so I saw a suggestion to rent some brick forms so that the extra concrete, you can turn it into bricks and then you can sell those bricks. Which does sound like a lot of work, but you know, who knows. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to the handyman and just be like, you know, what are your skills? What are your interests? We're going to have to let this dry a little bit. I used the regular undo for the second part. So we'll just see. Now, I do know you can like stain concrete, and they even make stamps for concrete, but I've heard that stamped concrete is like more expensive by a lot, you know, by like a lot to stamp it and stain it and make it look like pavers. So I think maybe just get pavers. But he said, yeah, if you get big pavers and you don't try and do a complicated pattern, you can actually do it really quickly. Is what Damien was saying. And we just want, you know, a place to put a fire pit and some chairs. So, and then just extend it long enough to also put the shed on it. So anyway, so that's kind of, that's project is like, is in the research phase still, the R&D phase. But we aren't going to do the subfloor in the attic, at least not anytime soon. Because, you know, those tables worked well enough for what the stuff that we want to put up there. Damien figured out some kind of solution outside to at least cover the lawn stuff in a way where bugs and creatures and water can't get out it, but it also doesn't look hideous. So it's all out there now, just kind of chilling. So, and also the workbench that used to be in the garage, we used like a waterproof, almost like a marine seal on it, so it can just be out in the rain all the time. So there's two kinds of undo, April. There's the yellow label and the green label. And the yellow label is the original, and the green label is the safe for California label. Or if you're not in California, if you're in California, it's probably the only one you'll see. And if you're not in California, if you see it, it'll probably be listed as like environmentally friendly or eco-friendly undo. And it is a different chemical than this one. And it just dries a little more slowly. That's all. This is my original bottle. I just got it to test them side by side to see, you know, how they worked compared to each other. But this one's just a little bit quicker, the original. The price on undo. Or the price on stamping. The price on stamping is outrageous, but I think I don't know if Ella's talking about stamping concrete or undo, but I do know that the stamped concrete is extremely expensive. Like it's, you know, if you just get whatever pavers are on sale, if you're not picky, which we are not, you know, and you're willing to just get large pavers on sale, and there's not some like pattern you're really married to or whatever, then yeah. But yeah, undo is very expensive. But the price on anything, as Melanie says, the price on anything. But see here, this is the California undo. It's still wet. And right here, this is the regular undo, which was put on after, and it's more dry. So. Oh yes, bring all your stamp collections and come stamp my concrete. What we need is we just need to 3D print a giant like embossing folder, and then we'll just use that. Okay, so the book is now at this stage where we're going to add the other pockets. And the reason we're doing everything now is because when we go to decorate it, we want our pattern paper to cover all the seams. Okay, we want our pattern paper to cover all the seams. Speaking of stamp collections, I will take a picture of how I'm storing my stamps now. It was my sister's idea, and it works great. So let me just stick this down and I'll go take a picture of it. All right. So I have 2 fewer 4x2 expedite units in my office than I used to, just because of sharing an office with my sister and everything that entails. And also I had to donate my expedite cubes to the rest of the house in blocking the doorway between the living room and the dining room. So here is what I did. And that they are so easy to get to now. So one of the quirks of our office is my sister has a dresser that belonged to my dad and it belonged to his mom. So we're on the third generation now. And she had borrowed it from my parents to use in her guest room. And now because she's with us, we have it, right? And so it has to be in the office because there's nowhere else in the house for it to go because there's no guest room and there's no extra space. It was in the garage in the last house. So we have converted it into her office storage. So it's kind of like where she puts all of her stuff because she's using her dining room table as her desk. So she doesn't have drawers or anything. So it works out great. So she keeps like her office supplies, the stuff you'd keep in your desk drawers, she keeps up there. And then she and I were working on organizing the expedite, and we just ran out of room. And I said, it's not that I don't know where to put stuff. I said, it's that literally every cube is full. Like, we cannot unpack any more boxes until we can find a way to empty cubes. And it was her idea to move all the stamps that are in those DVD bins into the dresser drawer. So I got drawer dividers that are made for long dresser drawers, and they're just in rows, and you can still flip through them just like you can in those DVD bins, except they fit 5 across in this dresser, five rows across. It holds all of my stamps. It holds all of them. It doesn't hold the dies as well, but I figured out how to do the dies. So yeah. But yeah, so if you're like, how am I going to store all my stamps? I have too many stamps. Get a dresser. Okay. So these are the ones that go on the right side, and these are the ones that go on the left side. Anyway, so that works great. So I'm repurposing the art bins around the house for various other things. One of the things I use them for is the thing that they were, or not the art bins, the Atlantic bins. Anyway, one of the things they were used for, ironically, is DVDs. I actually was able to free up a bunch of storage on a bookshelf by putting our DVDs in them. So, which is what they're made for. They've literally never been used to store that in all this time, all these years. So anyway, we are just getting very, very creative with storage for sure. So, but we're going to get there. We're going to get there. All right, so you have pocket, envelope. That's it. So you can see the how it's going to look, the three sections. So it's like, this is 2.5 inches, this is 2.5 inches, this is 2.5 inches, this is 2.5 inches. So visually, once we add the pattern paper, it'll be like stripes across. So yeah, we are definitely, our goal is to not get a storage unit, because storage units are where, like, at that point it's like, can you not, we need to just get rid of some stuff. You know, we need to just get rid of some stuff, because what a hassle to go get things out of a storage unit. Although my sister did say that all her stuff that she won't need until she has her own place again could go in the storage unit, and that does make some kind of sense, because at least then when they move, they would just move that stuff from the storage unit to their house, and no one would need to go and access the storage unit. But still, if we had done that, then we wouldn't have had this dresser for the stamp storage. So see, we're going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out. We're going to get there. It's just going to take a lot longer than any of us wants it to take. All right, that's it. We made an album. Looky there. Construction is done, friends. Except for the cover, of course. But construction's done. And now we're into decorating. It's already a chonker. Look at that. All right. So what I'm going to do now is, I guess I'm going to do a recording break, and we're going to start working on decorating. So we'll get our paper and start playing with paper. So for those of you who are watching live, just hang tight. Nothing's going to change for you. For those of you who are watching in the archive, just go ahead and click to the next video and see the rest of the class. And if you're watching on YouTube, check the YouTube playlist. And if there's no next video, just wait a couple days and it will appear. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye now.